G'day everyone. Today we're going to have a look at an LT1 ECM. So this particular one here is service number 16188051, which is an ECM from a Camaro with the LT1 engine. It's not one we normally see here in Australia, but I've been asked to have a look at this and see if we can do a VATS delete on it. So here it is hooked up on the bench. So we've got connectors here, connected through to the bench programming box here. Of course, main battery power accessory on, those two aren't used. So this lead here goes through to the ECU and gives it 12 volts accessories, the serial data, and this one here has the ground and serial data out to a USB ALDL interface. So this ECU is pretty interesting. It looks like it's got two separate sections to it, probably for engine and transmission control. And finding the pinouts took a little bit of digging, because it looks like this particular one's used in 1994 to 1997 and has serial data in ALDL, whereas the newer ones are actually OBD2 and use VPW. So a lot of different pinouts floating around, but managed to find this one from Custom ECM, and it's got it all pretty clearly labeled on there. So that's how we've got it hooked up. And let's have a look at the software. Okay, here's the software. Back in the day, there was really only one or two software solutions that could read and write to this ECU over the serial data. That was TunerCats with their WinFlash program, but in this day and age we've got an open source and free software flash hack. This looks pretty mature, pretty stable. This particular software though doesn't allow you to change any of the configurations to do with the type of cable that you're using. So with ALDL, it's pretty common to either have ignore echo turned on or off, depending on the type of cable that you're using. And that's where the transmitted data on the transmit line gets echoed back on the receive line, because they're joined together to give a one-wire serial connection to the ECU. So the default for many of the software packages is to have ignore echo turned on to ignore that echo packet that's coming back. But if you're using a custom interface, something like an ALDL logger or some sort of Arduino or other programmable serial interface, you might have a different board speed between the computer and the interface. So that's the board speed talking to the interface, and it doesn't just pass straight through, so 38400, etc. It won't allow you to accommodate that talking to the ECU. So it expects the board speed going into the interface to be the same going out of the interface, and in the case of an ALDL ECU, that's 8192. So as long as you have a pretty standard ALDL cable, USB to ALDL cable that is, or a serial to ALDL cable, you should be pretty good. So this is all set up. Let's have a look. First thing to do is test the interface. One of the prerequisites to test the interface in this case is to have it disconnected. So disconnect that. The bench programming, test interface. Goes through and tests the interface. So it's a pretty cool functionality. I haven't seen this on any other flashing programs for GM ECUs with ALDL. So that's good. Plug it back in. Okay, we're all plugged in. Let's give it a go reading the calibration. So off and away. This is pretty cool. You can see that it's loaded the kernel into T side and E side, so presumably transmission and engine side. and then it's got this visual here as it reads the memory out. It's a pretty cool visual. It looks to sort of simulate reading the address space top to bottom, and you can actually see down here 128K and the progress reading it in text. It's just going to go through cycle reading the T side and then the E side. And it's well into the E side now. Just flicking through the options down here. So it's normally on this, this one's normally on this one, which is status page. We also have a debug and a comms page. You can see the actual packet coming through, and it's reading through pretty quickly for an ALDL flash read. And what you can see here is 80, so presumably it's reading 128 bytes at a time, which makes for a pretty fast transfer. So we'll save that readout and have a look at the file. Here we are. We'll just load up the binary file. Already done this before and read it back out to test, but just for the exercise, here we go. Open it up. Then we want to write the calibration. Of course, before you do that, you want to make sure that the ECU is turned on, everything's there. And we can see the flash is done really quickly. All done.